KURINJI Senior Secondary School, CBSE, Namakkal.
Successful result producing school in state every year.
Administered by the Board of Directors with over 35 years of experience in the teaching field.
Special attention on art, craft, music, dance, silambam, yoga, skating and karate.
Focus on Hindi Sabha and Spell Bee Olympiad exams.
Smart class for effective and innovative learning and well-furnished library.
Solitary importance on sports and games in state and national level.
WhatsApp facilities to know activities of students and school inside the campus.
Free bus for LKG to 8th standard.
Free, hygienic and nutritious food.
NEET, JEE, IIT coaching experts from Rajasthan and Andhra Pradesh along with our effective teachers.
Admission registration for classes LKG to +2.
KURINJI Education Institution, Kavetipatti, Namakkal. Admission in progress. CBSE, KG to 12, contact 9025895176. Metric 6 to 12, contact 9344567484. For online admission, log on to www.kurinjischoolnkl.in.
Hi students, good morning. In this video session, I would like to continue about our body fluids and their circulation. This is the 5th video regarding that chapter. In this chapter, the main concept of our body fluids and their circulation we want to discuss. The main content is regarding to what is the heart, how it is made, and then what are the parts of a heart, internal anatomy of heart we want to know. Okay, let me start today's video session. On that board, see human cardiovascular system. In the last video also I put these heading regarding to explain about the blood because of different blood groups want to discuss in this chapter. So after completion of the blood group of human beings, heart structure we want to discuss. Here our heart is a 4-chambered heart, that too made up of a special characteristic. That special characteristic is character muscles. That is a cardiac muscle. We know already we studied about the different type of tissues of body. Then in this same chapter, blood vessels types, arteries and veins, what is the structure and then internal type of different body blood vessels we want to know. See, now in this video, structure of heart, external structure of heart, internal structure of heart we will discuss. See Nana, if you take it heart in our hands, okay, by the situationally, when we will become a doctor, they will give to the for examination of a heart, they are giving the one human heart, real human heart after death or any dead body onwards. That heart understanding time, these concepts we want to identify. See, first one, heart is a mesodermal origin. First basic question, heart is origin by the which layer of germinal epithelium? Mesodermal origin. In the germinal epitheliums, triploblastic animals, ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. In that second layer, mesoderm play an important role in the organogenesis. In that organogenesis, several organs are formed by these mesoderm. So, just for understanding, here total our body is composing by the 4 type of tissues: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, and muscular tissue and nervous tissue. Nervous tissue and then epithelial tissues are origin from the ectoderm, and remaining 2 tissues, connective tissue and then muscular tissue, totally origin by the mesodermal. So major portion of our body organs are origin by the mesodermal origin. Remember that one. And then this heart is a thick wall and muscular nature, and then pulsating organ. That means it will create the pulsing organ. Contract and relaxation, it is pumping the blood to the different body parts and receiving the blood from different body parts, whatever it is. So that is a general information. And then where they are located, our heart is located in our chest place, in between the lungs. Respiration time, I said about one thing. In between the lungs, a gap is there. That gap we call as a mediastinum. Pointer place paranga. Mediastinum. That mediastinum place is a suitable place for heart. So heart is located in the place of in between the lungs place a gap, that gap we call the mediastinum. So here I mentioned that it is situated at the place of the mediastinum. That word itself very important. Then it is slightly turned to the left. It is slightly turned to the left side of our body. Okay, here based on the movement, moving of the left side of the heart, except heart, our body can able to form the bilateral symmetrical organs. Okay, for example, our body also, if you keeping the middle of our chest place, our heart also will form the two equal parts, upper side atriums and lower side ventricles. Both sides it can able to share. So unfortunately, by the anatomical arrangement of the evolutionary process, our heart is dislocated from their place. That in the middle place onwards is move the somewhat of left side. Okay, so even whatever it is, it will can able to form the bilateral symmetry. And then the size of heart is not at constant from the beginning to up to death. Oftenly it will change. It will increase the size of heart. How much size? Basing on the different stages, based on our clenched fist. When you are closing your palm, how much your palm size is there? Closed palm we call it a clenched fist. So your size of heart similar to the your clenched fist. Okay, so that indicates your heart size. Your clenched fist size indicates your heart size. Then now come to the important concept. Now heart is a very delicate organ, very delicate, very sensible, very most important organ. For example, if brain is not at function, that is not a matter. We can able to maintain our life. Brain dead persons can able to maintain their life by the circulation process. Okay, nothing but those people can't think, can't give any response, but they are still alive. But heart is not at function means remaining body parts are functioning except the heart. It is not at useful. So that thing should be remembered. See, heart is covered by the double wall. That membrane we called as a pericardium. Cardia means always cardium. These are the nicknames of scientific names of the heart. Okay, pericardium. Peri means outer layers. So which of the layers are covered outer side of the card? I mean nothing but heart. Those layers we call the pericardium. Here pericardium containing with the two layers. One is outer layer, another one is the inner layer. Outer layer we call it a fibrous pericardium. That means it is a fibrous nature. Fibrous pericardium. When you coming to the inner wall of the pericardium, that is a serous pericardium. So we are discussing about the heart structure. Heart covered with one membrane. That membrane we called as a pericardium. That pericardium consisting with two layers. Outer layer made up of the fibrous, so that's why we call it a fibrous pericardium. Inner layer we call as a serous pericardium. Now here inner layer again divide into the two minute layers, again separated to the two layers. Okay, that two layers, outer serous layer we called as a parietal layer. Inner layer of serous pericardium, visceral layer. In between of these parietal layer and visceral layer, a small gap is there, space, that is a pericardial space. That pericardial space is filled with one fluid, pericardial fluid. That fluid is allowing the free movement of the heart. Okay, by presence of the watery fluid, that nothing but pericardial fluid, heart can able to move very fastly without friction. Okay, so this pericardial fluid is reduce the frictional force by that at the time of the movement of the heart. Already I said about the significance of the pericardium. What is, don't confusing about the layers here. For giving clarity, totally heart covered by the pericardium. That pericardium having the two membranes, outer membrane fibrous, inner membrane serous. That serous membrane having the two layers, one is outer side parietal layer, inner side visceral layer. Now I will give some example. Example means explanation. Parietal layer towards of nearby the outer membrane of pericardium, that is a fibrous pericardium. And then inner layer of the serous membrane, nothing but visceral layer. Visceral layer, it is located near towards of heart walls. Heart walls. Okay. So remember that one. So in between of the serous layers only pericardial fluid is there. Okay. That pericardial fluid is giving to the free movement of the muscle contraction of cardiac muscles. Okay. Then now when you going inside of the visceral layer, real heart is there. Okay. Up to now what we discussed, heart protected layers we discussed. Now we are entering into the heart walls. Okay. Nothing but if you seen any wall, building wall, it is coated by the painting. Correct now? Okay. Painting inside real cement bricks are there. Okay. Up to now we discussed about the outer painting layer. Now we are entering real cement made wall. So here now we are entering the heart wall. Heart wall is made up of the three layers. Three layers. Outer layer and middle layer, inner layer. Outer layer is very thin. Outer layer is very thin. It is combined with middle layer. That middle layer, it is a very thick. Then that middle layer only having the cardiac muscle. A significant characteristics of the cardiac muscle. Whether you remembered or not, structural organization of our animal's body time, we discussed about the cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle without fatigue, it never get any pain. Okay, if the cardiac muscle get pain means it is indicates a problematic situation to the life threatening. So see here middle layer of the heart only it containing with the cardiac muscles. The internal layer it is a endothelium. Endothelium means already I said one day. Here endothelium is nothing but epithelium nana. But epithelium cells are made up of the either any one of the Germanian layer. If epithelium made up of the ectoderm, that is normal epithelium. If it is mesoderm, that is a mesothelium. If it is origin from the endoderm, that we call as endothelium. So endothelium always it is lining the internal part of the visceral organs. Here heart also visceral organ only na. So internal layer is made up of the endothelium. These endothelium continue in the heart inside, it will form the heart walls. Here heart structural anatomy and explanation time I will say 6 walls. That 6 walls totally linked with these inner wall of endothelium of heart. Along with that, some of the blood vessels also connected with these endothelium. Okay, that you should be remember. That is a statement based questions will be origin, maybe chances for in NEET. Okay, so in the first column we discussed about general information of the heart origin, in which place they are located, mediastinum. And then outer covering layers pericardium, that pericardium what are the layers are there, outer fibrous, inner serous. Again serous having the 2 layers, one is a parietal layer, another one is a visceral layer. In between the parietal layer and visceral layer fluid is there, pericardial fluid. It allows the free movement of the heart wall. Heart wall made up of the 3 layers, consisting 3 layers, outer, middle, inner. Middle layer very most important, it containing with the cardiac muscles. Okay, internal layer made up of containing with the endothelium cells. It also continues the heart walls and blood vessels also. Then come to the second. Now heart external structure. If you are, when you are holding the human heart in your hand, you will be find out these structures on the heart. By external structure means nothing but by phenotypically you can able to say these characteristics. So here heart external structure, basically heart having a 4 chambers, upper chambers are atriums, lower chambers are ventricles. That only here I mentioned. A small upper chambers are called as a atria. Small upper chambers are a rough diagram for understanding wise. These 2 are atriums and lower chambers are ventricles. From the lower classes onwards you are studying about the structure of heart. So here atria and ventricles, both are separated by with one septa. For understanding wise, I mentioned like this: atria and ventricles are separated by the one septa. That deep transverse groove is there. Deep transverse groove. Okay, nothing but when you seen anything sweet, milkmaid sweet, in that milkmaid seat upper side something deep depression is there. Such a type of deep depression we can see in this place here. In the normal diagram place, atriums, ventricles, in this place deep depression. That means by seeing itself, we can able to find it upper part this one, lower part this one. Okay, so that depression we called as a coronary sulcus. That deep depression between the atria and ventricles, that word is that structure we call as a coronary sulcus. Also generalized word atrioventricular groove. Already I said groove. Okay, it is a transverse groove, just like a transverse way that present in between the atriums and the ventricles. So that's why we call it the atrioventricular groove. Basically, scientifically we call it as a coronary sulcus. Remember that word. And then on the atriums, when you see in these parts, atrium part, both right and left ventricles, it is consisting with muscular pouches, a muscular pouches above on that atriums. Okay, that muscular pouches, thin projections we called atricular appendix. Atricular appendix, nothing but elevated portions of atriums that we called as a atricular appendix. Just like in between of the small intestine and large intestine, in the cecum place, a finger like projections we see, that is appendix. Okay, like a muscular elevated part we call as a atricular appendix. It is located on the both atriums and ventricles. Atriums, both right and left ventricles. Left and right atriums, not ventricles. Here what imaginary view I can able to say one thing. If some of the persons having the big belly, that big belly will come out. Okay, it is a elevated part. Okay, so like a small muscular pouches will be elevated from the atriums. Okay, then come to the next one. Lower parts what we call ventricles. That ventricles are separated by two interventricular groove here in this place. This is the right ventricle, this is the left ventricle, both are separating by the interventricular groove. By seeing we can see. Okay, so by seeing we can able to find these interventricular groove. Okay, these interventricular groove allowing to the some of the blood vessels are passing through that one. Okay, that is a coronary arteries and their branches, everything will be lodged in that groove. That means coronary arteries are going through the interventricular groove. For your understanding, if you see in these diagram here, yellow color line we called as a interventricular groove. On the line I mentioned something yellow red color line that we called as a nothing but seems like coronary arteries, and their branches also goes on through the interventricular groove. And then next, up to now we discussed about the external structure of heart. Now we are entering into the internal structure. Okay, by the one scissor, surgical scissor, if you cut that heart internal characteristics we can find. Then heart internal structures, first we want to know atriums wise, then next continuation video I will be explain about the ventricles. Okay, so here internal structure, in the internal structure upper chambers atrias, that upper chambers we call as receiving chambers. The receiving chambers, why we call receiving chambers? Atriums are receiving the oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood from the lungs and different body parts. Okay, separately it will collect. See, atrias are receiving chambers. Right one is larger than the left one. Its character should be remembered. Which is the chamber of the atrium is more bigger. Right atrium more bigger than the left atrium. Then two atrias are separated by internally interatrial septa. So nothing but if you are enter inside of the one function hall having the several several rooms, along with the rooms one functional theater. Okay, so now if you are that theater or that open area, if you are separated with some of the septas like that, here atriums are separated by the internally interatrial septum. These interatrial septum consisting with a small hole. Okay, not in your body, not in our body. All the human beings, when they are in developing stage in the mother uterus, when we are all growing in the mother uterus, on the time 3 months condition, fetal condition is there now. In the 3 months condition, heart already developed. That heart containing with a small hole in the the interatrial septa. That pore we call as a foramen ovale. Foramen ovale not at presence in the adult ones. Developmentation stage of heart of fetus, that containing with interatrial septum containing with the foramen ovale. Okay, when the 9 months are completed of the developing baby, that foramen ovale totally will disappear or filled with something tissue. So at that place having a small mark. That mark indicates once upon a time this is the place of the foramen ovale. Okay, so that mark we call as a fossa ovalis. Okay, then sometimes the developed baby also, delivered baby also, inside of the heart, these interatrial septa still containing with that foramen ovale. Because of foramen ovale pore not yet filled with tissue with properly. Okay, so that is still a small hole present in the atrial septa after birth itself also. That only we called some of the babies having by birth itself they are having the heart hole. That heart hole only name foramen ovale. Okay, if the foramen ovale still present in the delivered babies, such a foramen ovale we called as a patent foramen ovale. If baby does not have these hole, that hole instead of hole a small mark is there, that is a fossa ovalis. Okay, these 3 words should be remembered. What I said here, we are discussing internal structure of the heart. That internal structure of the heart, atria are receiving chambers. Their right atrium is somewhat of bigger than the left atrium. The 2 atriums are separated with the help of interatrium septums. That interatrial septums, when we are growing in the inside of the mother uterus, it has a small pore, that is a foramen ovale. That foramen ovale not yet present in the adult ones, delivered babies. Now that maybe sometimes the delivery baby also will be having that foramen ovale, that we call as a patent foramen ovale. Okay, then if the patent foramen ovale, instead of that one a small mark, a small patch is there, that we call as a fossa ovalis. Okay, up to now internal structure of atria. Now how many atrias are there? 2 atrias are there, right and left atrias. What are their functions of right and left atrias we want to know. Here right atria, already I said atriums we called as a receiving chambers kadanna. Now right atria receiving blood from the which parts onwards through the which tubes, which blood vessels, and as simultaneously left also we want to know. See the third column, right atrium. These right atrium receiving the carbon dioxide blood from the different body parts. So right atrium containing with deoxygenated blood. Here I mentioned for deoxygenated blood in the form of the CO2 blood. Okay, so that deoxygenated blood receiving from the different body parts. How it will receiving? Through the vena cava. For your language veins. which of the veins are big in size, those big veins are large width containing veins we call as a vena cava, caval veins. Okay, caval veins. See that caval veins are 3 caval veins. In the 3 caval veins, 2 are pre-caval veins. 2 are pre. Okay, pre means they are receiving the blood from the upper side of the body. Upper side of the body means head onwards, above the heart parts onwards. And which of the vena cava or caval vein receiving the blood from the lower part, those vena cava or caval vein we called as a post caval vein. Post caval vein. Here 2 pre-caval veins and 1 post caval vein. Okay. See, understand. Now here some of the important concept, important statements will come in this. Here it is also receiving the blood from the myocardium. Anybody remembered what is myocardium? I think so. Just in the first column just now we discussed myocardium is a wall of the heart in the middle layer, correct na? Middle wall, membrane, that is a myocardium. So here these right atrium not only receiving the deoxygenated blood from the different body parts, it is also receiving the blood from the heart wall itself. Which heart wall place onwards? Myocardium onwards. So through which layer, which blood vessel? Coronary sinus. Coronary sinus. Here from the body parts onwards, caval veins helping to the carrying, receiving the blood. And then here body heart wall onwards, blood receiving by the coronary sinus. These coronary sinus, 2 pre-caval veins, 1 post-caval vein, totally open into the right atrium. Totally open into the right atrium. Here we are discussing about coronary sinus. Coronary sinus means which of the blood vessel to receiving to carrying the blood from the heart wall of the myocardium to open into the right atrium. Then in such a place, these coronary sinus are guarded by wall of Tibaceous. Wall of Tibaceous. For your understanding wise, I will narrate like this. Coronary sinus taking the blood from the heart wall, it open into the right atrium, in which place of right atrium coronary sinus will open out. Such a place, one wall is there. That wall we called as a wall of Tibaceous. So coronary sinus open into the right atrium with the help of these wall of Tibaceous. Okay, nothing but wall means nothing but one type of sphincters. Remember like that. They are preventing or allowing the blood to inside of the heart. So here coronary sinus is guarded by the wall of Tibaceous at the place of which place it will open into the right atrium. Okay, first wall completed. I said 6 wall names I will say. First wall name over. And then next one post-caval vein. Here I already said caval veins are receiving the deoxygenated blood from the body and open into the right atrium. In that 2 are pre-caval veins and 1 are post-caval vein. So post-caval vein also open into the right atrium. In which place post-caval vein will be open or drain the deoxygenated blood into the right atrium? In the place, it is guarded by the one more wall that is called as a Eustachian wall. Eustachian wall. Okay. So 2 wall names are completed. Coronary sinus opening in open place, wall of Tibaceous, and post-caval vein opening place into the right atrium, it guarded by the Eustachian wall. Okay, in this time you will get some doubt, sir. Post-caval vein opening place it covered by the it has the guarded by the Eustachian wall. Anything same type of walls are present in a pre-caval vein? Is there anything? Is there? Pre-caval veins opening place, it does not have any veins. Just use your brain and think it. Pre-caval veins are origin from taking the oxygenated blood from the above the heart parts, correct now? So no need not to worry about that one, because our blood will not going to the backward direction. because of it is influenced by the gravitation force, so easily can able to migrate the downwards direction. But post caval vein receiving the blood from the lower part of bodies. So the post caval vein taking or which of the blood transported by the post caval veins, those blood oftenly interrupted by the or pressure is interrupted by the influenced by or affected by the gravitation force. For that one it guarded by the Eustachian wall. Okay, so the Eustachian wall you should be remember, and Tibaceous wall also you should be remember, and then simultaneously left atrium also we should be discuss. Left atrium receiving the oxygenated blood from the lungs. Okay, oxygenated blood from the lungs through the two pulmonary veins. These two pulmonary veins joined together open into the one small aperture only. Both veins are opened by the one small aperture. Okay, that you should be remember. So totally right atrium containing with the deoxygenated blood, left atrium contains oxygenated blood. Okay, now below the atriums, what it is there? Ventricles are there. Now internally that atriums and ventricles are separated by internal septa only. Okay, the septa is present in between the atriums and ventricles, so that's why that septa name we kept as a atrioventricular septa, which is the septa is separated the both atriums and with the ventricles. That septa we call the atrioventricular septa. Inga parnana below this line, atria ventriculars are separated by the one of the membranous septa that we call as a atrioventricular septa. So below the atrioventricular septa, right atrium down, right ventricle is there, left atrium down, below that left ventricle is there. So that right and left atriums are separated with the help of atrioventricular septa. But blood flow want to do from the atriums to ventricles. So that's why these atrioventricular septa having the small holes, two holes. Okay, that are two holes we called atrioventricular apertures. These atrioventricular apertures are allowing the blood from the atriums to ventricles. So which place atrioventricular apertures are present in between the atriums and ventricles, in such a place also two more walls are there. In the right aperture, that means right atrium open into the left atrium. In that place through the one pore, that pore guarded by the one wall, that wall is a tricapsid wall. As simultaneously other side left atrium open into the left ventricle by the one wall, that wall we call as a bicapsid wall. That bicapsid wall also called as a mitral wall. I think so these two wall names in the 6th standard onwards you are revising, correct na? You known. So these walls are present in the place of the atrioventricular aperture places. By these aperture or with the help of these walls, they are allowing the blood transportation, blood movement from the atriums to ventricles. Okay, appropriate atriums are sending to the simultaneous ventricles. That means right atrium to send to the right ventricle and left atrium send the blood to the left ventricle. Okay, so through these walls, up to now what I said, that only. Tricapsid wall presence in the right side, right atrium to right ventricle, left side left atrium to left ventricle side bicapsid walls are there. That bicapsid wall only we called as a mitral wall. Okay, in the continuation video next I will continue about internal structure of ventricles, I will say. Okay, along with that diagrammatic explanation also I will explain. Okay, this is today our video topic. We discussed in this video general structure of heart and heart outer layers and external structure of heart. Internal structure we started in that Only atriums only we discussed. Ventricles in the next video. Up to that wait.